Hey folks, it's Andy here from Dice Heads, and today we're painting Tarin Skitterfang, the Weasel Battlemaster from Heroes of Zoontalis. I've primed him in black and then sprayed a zenithal white from above, and finished with a light controlled white dry brush over the raised area. This gives us instant light direction, makes the sculpt easier to read, and sets us up for fast wins when we start adding colour. We're starting with the armour, using broadsword silver as a contrast undercoat. I'm putting this on first so I don't have to dry brush over the fur later and risk messing up all the fur tones. Contrast paints move really quickly, but don't rush them. Get good coverage, keep it tidy, and let the paint naturally settle into the cracks and crevices. Take your time with the big weapon head as well. Is this a halberd or a polearm? I'm not sure. Once that goes on, the armour already starts to look interesting and lived in. Really sorry, but I forgot to capture the initial dry brushing on camera. But after the silver contrast paint has dried, I've dry brushed 2 turquoise tones over the armour to give it a cool enamelled sheen. Now I'm going in with a lighter white and gently catching the highest points, but just enough to bring back those crisp edges and emphasise the texture. It's really important not to overdo it here. Next up, we're moving on to Tarin's fur. I've mixed desert yellow with just a touch of rust orange for the base coat. I start on the larger surfaces first, working towards the edges. Go light, go controlled, especially around the face. This mix gives us a nice warm mid-tone that still leaves room for us to push deeper shadows later. If you need to do 2 coats, that's fine. Now I'll take the base mix and add a little onyx skin into it, just enough to darken things for the top knot, sideburns, whiskers and some of the deeper fur areas. This helps shade the head and bring definition to those features. For the kilt pleats, I'm using Basilisk Red. It's a deep, earthy, pinkish red that really suits the character. Now I'm using army green and brown fur to pick out the earthy tones in the gloves, the boots and trousers. Work steadily, none of these colours need to dominate. They're supporting values, they help frame the miniature without overpowering it. The weapon shaft gets oak brown, but be careful here because there are fabric wraps around the handle, and for those wraps I'm mixing ancient stone with desert yellow for a nice light cream. These are fiddly, so slow down, take your time. Mistakes can stand out here, but can be touched up as well. For the eyes, I'm starting with that same cream mix as a base. We'll brighten them later, but this lays the foundation. Now we move on to shade. Agrax Earthshade, Null Oil and a Crimson Wash, the classics. The crimson goes into the kilt to enrich the red. Washes add depth, but don't let them pool, guide them into recesses. If they sit on flat surfaces, they'll leave tide marks, and those are a pain to fix. Let everything dry thoroughly before moving forward. Once dry, I return to the fur mix, adding a little extra desert yellow. I then gently build up highlights on the higher surfaces. Don't overblend, we want a clear, readable value step. I do the same with the leather, adding a touch of rust orange to lift the raised forms. With Squid Pink, my favourite pink, I'm adding a tiny touch of colour to the nose. I can also pick out a few subtle highlights on the boot caps. If you struggle with these, grass tufts later can hide the odd crime. I really did struggle with those boot caps, so we'll see what I do later. Now I'm mixing white back into the turquoise tones from earlier and carefully dry brushing the armour again. Just using it and then using a thin brush to pull out some of those edges. It gives clarity to the silhouette, but make sure you don't overdo it. Right, now for the eyes. Deep breath moment. Keep your paint thick, don't over thin it, and use the absolute finest brush you have. A single confident dot. Done. Or maybe a second time. No cross-eyed weasels today, thankfully. Now for basing. I've got a simple PVA mix with just a little bit of water, not too much, brushed over the base. Dip it into your basing material and shake off the excess and let it settle. This instantly ties the piece together and helps with a little bit of storytelling. I'm finishing with a few tiny highlights on the leather, just enough to add definition, and then I've added a couple of grass tufts. Don't overdo the basing, I listed as enough to frame the miniature and balance the greens against those reds and oranges. And that's it, Tarin Skitterfang, the Weasel Battlemaster, done. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you paint your own version, please do share on MyMiniFactory canvas or on the socials as well, and tag Diceheads. I genuinely love seeing what you guys create. Thanks for watching and happy painting.